In a world filled with information, we often lose the ability to notice individual people and the stories that change the world around us for the better. Together with our reporters, we bring you the stories of people who inspire and restore our faith in human kindness. I'm Jan Ślewiński. Welcome to In Focus. After the Second World War, two people went on a journey through the Polish countryside to record as many folk songs and traditions as possible before they disappear. Later on, Tadeusz and Mira created an ensemble of singers and dancers who were tasked with the mission of preserving the rich and vibrant Polish folk culture. Over the years, the state folk ensemble of song and dance MAZOWSZE grew into a staple of Polish cultural landscape. It now seeks new ways to reach a younger audience. This is, after all, what it was all about: to keep traditions alive. And to be alive means to evolve.
Our team is made from young people. Those are passionate artists who are mastered in their specialty. There are ballet dancers, there are singers, there are a whole orchestra, and they just float with ideas, creating valuable content with them. It just goes. That's just the easiest things to do.
Can we skip to the good part?
Could be red, or I could be yellow, I could be blue, or I could be purple, I could be
What
green,
is
maybe
complicated from my point of view, looking for the touch points, looking where the young people are, so we can communicate to them, we can show what we are doing in their environment.
Wipe it down, wipe it down, wipe.
Mam na sobie outfit, 7 koła, ciało jak butelka, Coca-Cola.
It isn't easy because this organization is 75 years old. So we've got this whole long history. And we've got to evolve.
I work all night, I work all day to pay the bills I have to pay. Ain't it sad? And still there never seems to be a single penny left for me. That's too bad. In my dreams, I have a plan. If I got me a wealthy man, I wouldn't have to work.
First of all, we try to be where the youngsters are. That's our main priority. Since the main goal of MAZOWSZE is to cultivate this culture, get young people to know where they're from. We try to be on TikTok, on Facebook, on Instagram, on all social media. Moreover, we create shows who are aimed towards young people.
Odszukałem swoją starą skrzynię.
I have a surprise for you. I found my old dowry chest from MAZOWSZE. It's so colorful, hand-painted.
Kiedyś malowała, a później zabierała.
Tak jak dzisiaj było widać,
You can clearly see that many young people and kids come to our shows. It's not just the older generations who remember the old MAZOWSZE. Our audiences keep growing up, and then they bring their children or even their grandchildren. That's the magic of MAZOWSZE.
tak właśnie na tym polega magia mazowsza.
Do Wilemowic! Na Śląsk!
Let's go to MAZOWSZE. Let's go to Silesia. Are you scared?
Ani trochę.
Not at all.
Jadymy na Śląsk. Mało kto.
Not many people speak the Wilemovian language.
Tymek postanawia jednak...
But a boy called Timek decided to preserve the language from Wilemowice.
Sąsiadów i sąsiadki.
This aims at the youngest audience, and I think it's really important that they are aware that it exists.
Godzinę dziennie.
The boy lets the world know about this new language.
Na cały świat.
Widzisz?
See? The internet can change the world.
You're at it again.
Dzieciaki, przestańcie się sprzeczać. Dzięki jego pasji...
Thanks to Timek's passion and the information he sent out, the Wilemovian language has a chance to survive.
Wpisany do księgi UNESCO jako przykład ginącego języka.
Najbardziej mi się podobało...
What I liked the most was everything. The whole show was interesting. But if I had to choose, that I most liked the dancing.
Najbardziej tańce...
I liked the dance, but also the clothes.
Występowały.
Mi się bardzo podobał.
I personally loved the dance and the clothes. The clothes so much. They were so beautiful. And the set design.
Cudowne.
The choreography was marvelous.
Wspaniałe.
Yes, everything was amazing. It was so beautiful.
Muzyka.
And the music was very beautiful too.
Ci ludzie tańczyli jakby...
And these people danced as if they were born to do it.
Quality of it all, it speaks for itself. We've got really beautiful things to show.
I'm from a region Kurpie, and we have our traditions. I danced before in a folk ensemble. It has always been my hobby. I love dancing, I love singing, and I love folk traditional music.
Moja przygoda z Mazowszem zaczęła się...
My adventure in MAZOWSZE began in February 1995, so a little over 20 years ago. I think I stayed so long because this isn't just a job. This is life. It's the way we live.
To jest życie.
I love what I'm doing, so I think it's the greatest part.
Gdziekolwiek jesteśmy, zawsze jest...
Wherever we go, there is always enthusiasm. It's always colorful, joyful, and besides,
Poziom Mazowsza.
MAZOWSZE represents world-class quality.
Jest to poziom światowy.
The 38th edition of the legendary Marathon des Sables has just ended in southern Morocco. Let's take a look at what this epic-scale marathon was really like.
The Marathon des Sables is a 250-kilometer, 7-day-long ultra-marathon comprised of 6 stages. Its longest stage is more than 80 kilometers long. This extremely challenging sports event takes place in southern Morocco in the Sahara Desert. It has been organized annually since 1986. This extraordinary event brings together hundreds of athletes from around the world. Around 900 runners from 58 different countries took part in this year's edition. The participants have to survive extreme weather conditions since temperatures can reach up to 50 degrees Celsius. The runners have to carry all of their equipment on their own, including backpacks filled with clothing and food. The organizers are responsible for distributing water throughout the entire race, as well as for medical care and tents. This is not an adventure for the faint of heart and requires not just epic endurance but also ironclad determination. More than just a race, the Marathon des Sables is a journey through the Sahara's beauty. All throughout it, the runners can wander at beautiful landscapes and golden dunes. This year's athletes ran 252 kilometers over 6 stages, which is the race's greatest length since its inception. As you can see, there is a very good reason as to why this is considered to be one of the world's most difficult ultramarathons.
This week we celebrated Earth Day. Let's take a trip around the world to see how creativity aids climate. By recycling old rugs and cleaning out desert dumps, artists and designers aim to use their skills in the most productive of ways.
Although the science has been clear for a few decades, most politicians don't seem to treat climate change seriously. Which is why Jamie Wardley chose Earth Day to send a special message ahead of this year's elections.
Okay, so we're in Hebden Bridge. We're on a hill up in Old Chamber, and right behind me is a giant piece of artwork. It's like 50 metres long. It's anamorphic, so it can only really be seen from one position. And it's of a girl holding the earth for Earth Day. And the words are vote for climate, vote for our future. And really she's smiling, so she's optimistic because this year it's the UK elections and it's an opportunity for us to make a real difference to our children's future. Because by voting for climate in mind, you're also voting for health because the air would be cleaner. We're voting for prosperity because everything's going that way now. So we really need to invest in those things. You're voting for nature because we'll be planting more trees, more seagrass, and so biodiversity will increase. So it's a bit of a no-brainer, really.
Meanwhile, a New York artist reflects on all the plastic waste that we humans create.
So this art installation is inspired by the Greek legend of the Hydra, which is when you cut one head off, 2 more spread out. And I feel like it's very emblematic of the single-use plastic problem. We think we can solve it through recycling or cleanups, but then another problem pops up, we're not recycling enough, there's a bunch of pollution, it uses a lot of energy.
On and around Earth Day, artists worldwide contemplate humanity's relationship with nature as the effects of climate change become more and more visible with each passing year. But of course it's the countries of the global south that tend to be hit hardest. This could be why creative communities in those countries like to make use of their craftsmanship in actual pro-environmental work. So, here's a question to consider. What do you do when you find a huge dump of old clothes in the middle of the Atacama Desert? You call on your local artists. This is what happened in the Tarapacá region of Chile. The ADRA charity set out to clean the dump out and give the discarded clothes a new life.
It was shocking to be able to go through the dump and see the amount of clothes in that place, along with the volunteers. We were unearthing clothes that came from other countries, some still with labels attached, and we saw that we had something to do here. It was very interesting to search out there, to rummage through the sand a little bit. We were looking especially for shirts, for blouses, ones which we could give a second chance to, and turn them into something special.
Once the bags were ready, they were given out to local children for decoration.
Our organization works with 3,700 children in conditions of social vulnerability. We take them to our programs where they were able to paint and decorate these tote bags, shopper bags, and later hand them out as a special gift to someone.
The remaining clothes were donated to fashion designers. These are the people to go to if you need to turn trash into treasure. Not long after, the local community enjoyed a beautiful fashion show.
We worked with artisans and designers so that, in addition to creating a collaborative fashion collection, it would be sustainable and made by rescuing these garments. We as a team took them to the different micro-dumps so that they could rescue them.
A similar event took place a few years ago in Indonesia. Here, however, instead of old clothes, fashion designers chose to recycle plastics, such as bottles, wrappers, and cutlery. Later on, the local transgender community organized a fashion show.
For the costumes, we pick up materials such as straws, plastic, and seashells from the market, and we wash them with hot water to make sure they're sterile. A lot of us busk in the streets for a living and encounter pollution and diseases. When we come home to our rented rooms, you can see that the surrounding environment is very dirty. We at Sanggar Saroja created the initiative to recycle trash and reuse unused materials. It was a struggle. It's difficult not only to hold this event, but to show that transgenders can be creative is very difficult. But thank God, here in Sanggar Saroja, we were able to show the public that we can always create art. We're happy that transgender people here are able to create art and not just get stereotyped as buskers in the streets or apply wedding makeup. As a local resident, I'm happy that they create these fashion shows and help with recycling trash around here.
What else could be recycled into art? An old carpet, perhaps? Mohammad Al-Olabi is a Syrian artist who paints on rugs and papers.
The idea is to take the rug from the floor to the wall, turning it into an art piece, and also to transform papers from old books into artwork. By doing this, I am recycling both rugs and papers. This helps the environment through recycling, and at the same time I am presenting new art pieces that carry the soul of this era and the strong energy of the past. I found an environmental solution by doing this. So what I do is, I would take out a bit of the weaver's work and add some of mine over it, resulting in joint work between me and the weavers. The rug gives me inspiration, and I use this for the painting. Each rug has a soul, has traditions and roots with which I interact. This is my technical goal, to transform material, to save it from the trash can and recycle it, and change the nature of the item from rugs or papers. This helps the environment and also helps me by minimizing the costs of new materials that we import in order to paint on.
From England to Chile, from Jakarta to New York, artists and designers find ways to reconnect with nature. Whether you want to send a political message, clean up a desert dump, or just spend some time in a creative fashion, the only limit is how far inspiration can take you.
The human face is the basis of social communication. From our very first days in this world, we learn the faces of the people who surround us, who protect us, whom we love. As we walk through life, the library of faces on our path continues to grow, and our experiences, habits, lifestyles are reflected in it as well. The protagonist of our next story devotes his work to human faces. His unique portraits make it almost possible to look into the souls of the people he photographs. However, it is not only photography that is important in his work, but also the contact with whom he calls heroes of his works.
Kiedy jestem sam na sam z tym portretem,
when I'm one-on-one with a portrait, it transcends words. I zoom in as much as I can, take a close look at the details, and at times I get goosebumps. Since it's not until I'm alone, not even with a person, but with a portrait, that I can see deeper.
Widzę więcej. To jest portret pana Wojtka.
This is the portrait of Mr. Wojtek from a care home in Poznań. He agreed to the photo shoot, but actually what's more important is that we've met and had a chance to talk.
Ale właściwie nie to jest ważne, że on się pozwolił sfotografować, tylko to, że się spotkaliśmy i mogliśmy porozmawiać.
This to me is the real purpose of this photo shoot. That is what happens between the sitter and myself.
To znaczy to, co się dzieje pomiędzy nami, pomiędzy fotografowanym, a pomiędzy mną, który...
And I only pull out my camera sometime into the meeting. For instance, during our conversation, Mr. Wojtek shared the pet names his mom had for him when he was a kid. These are the moments that pull at your heartstrings.
Więc to są takie momenty, kiedy po prostu serce się ściska. Ten projekt przerodził się.
This project has evolved into encounters much more meaningful than their outcome, which is the portrait.
Efekt tych spotkań, czyli portret.
People arrive, have coffee, talk, but it's not just like chat on a tram. All of a sudden it turns into an intimate conversation. Some people feel the need to share something significant, which they have been carrying for months, or a defining moment in their lives.
O jakimś przełomie w swoim życiu. Istotne jest to, czego nie widać, co się dzieje między mną.
What's important is the invisible connection between myself and the photographed person. What goes on inside the person brave enough to find himself on the other side of the lens.
Udajemy czy pokazujemy część naszej prawdy o nas?
We pretend or we show a piece of our true selves, deciding which part to illuminate and which one to leave in the shadows. Today, we would like for your courage to be spotlighted and anything you want to hold back to remain in the shadows.
Dobrze, to słuchaj.
Okay, so we will do 2 takes. You said that you don't want to wear glasses, so take them off. Would you like me to hold them, or do you want to yourself?
Może trzymać.
A mogę trzymać je.
Let me hold them then. They will be a symbol.
Pani Jadwiga, to jedna z niewielu osób, do których...
Mrs. Jadwiga is one of the few people who I've traveled to see at her apartment since she was 102 years old. Last week I was at the meeting where a man asked who that is and another man answered,
I ktoś zapytał, kto to jest, a kolejny mężczyzna mówi, to jest pani Jadwiga, ja ją pamiętam, ona była intendentką.
This is Mrs. Jadwiga, I remember her. She was a food supply manager. She went shopping by bike. And already memories, stories flow inspired by these portraits, in a place where many people pass through. So, life is breathed into these portraits, or I would rather say, to these people.
Jakby nabierają w tym miejscu swojego życia. Bardzo, bardzo piękna twarz.
A very, very beautiful face.
To jest piękny portret. Alina.
This is a beautiful portrait of Alina, a girl who escaped here from the war in Ukraine. Maybe to know where she came from helps us understand what is behind those eyes.
Skąd jest, może bardziej pozwala zrozumieć to, co w tych oczach widać. Trochę się tutaj zużyły już te portrety, bo wiszą trochę.
You can see the wear on those portraits since they've been hanging here for a while, but I wanted them here across different seasons. They've been here since summer, so I thought it would be cool if they could still be displayed here in the fall, winter, whatever they stayed. I would only take them down in the spring.
To jest taki, ten portret akurat jest.
This portrait is truly special, different than others. But that's because I welcome the unexpected. This girl came here with her mother. She was very difficult to capture, since she is battling autism.
Portretować to jest dziecko, które zmaga się z autyzmem, dlatego taka trudność wielka była.
So this is a very unique portrait, where this child is clearly done with a day.
Portret, gdzie to dziecko po prostu miało dość tego dnia już. A tu mama.
And this is her mother.
Sami mieszkańcy DPS-u, którzy brali udział w tym moim projekcie,
sometimes the nursing home residents who participated in this project would say that these faces look like tree bark. Those were their associations, and I agree. This is an accurate metaphor, although I prefer to compare those portraits to maps. Maps that lead nowhere, but shows us the road traveled by the person I photographed.
To jest kolejny bohater.
This is another hero. I like to call the people I photograph heroes. To me, they are heroes, because it requires so much courage to expose your inner self both in the front of a camera and in a conversation.
Żeby pokazać siebie. I w tej rozmowie też się odsłonić, bo nawet nie jest ważne to.
Because it's not even that important how many strokes my hero suffered or how difficult their life was. Of course, this is important, but for me and I believe for my protagonists as well, what's most crucial is to tap into those deep emotions.
Dotknięcie pewnych głębokich emocji, na przykład tęsknotą.
Like a
za dziećmi.
Like a longing for children, grandchildren, or a home they used to have.
Domem, który kiedyś mieli.
And that's all that we prepared for you today on this episode of In Focus. Join us again at the same time next week for more intriguing human stories here on TVP World.